Every campaign failure that I have seen has the same structure. Many brands never see it, and the ones that do win consistently. In this video, I'm going to talk about the different ways in which signal architecture is actually going to help your campaign and make you the smartest person in the room. Let's dive in. So first off, marketers tend to diagnose campaign failures in the wrong way, and they tend to blame the execution. And this is very simple. It's sort of similar to Roy Sutherland's alchemy, when he points out this psychologic is contrasted against rationalism. There is just a rational tendency to look at what makes sense and yet to ignore what is crazy and doesn't make any sense. And the reason why you want to go with what doesn't make sense is because humans do what doesn't make sense. Humans are driven by human nature, and human nature is psychological. It is not rational logical, okay? So in this video, I'm going to just share a little bit. You're going to learn about the structural flaw, why Pepsi Kendall Jenner's ad failed. This is back in 2017, before a single frame even ran, and what the actual structure flaw was. Number two, you're going to learn about the 3 enemy sequence. This is what I'm aiming for here. After looking at 12 in-depth campaigns last year in 2025, and then looking at over 36 different successful patterns that were linked to those 12, and over 30 failed ways in which that high-level strategy pattern succeeded, I'm just noticing that there's this pattern that's showing up, and this is what I call signal architecture. So the enemy that I'm hoping to help people with is this quietly running most marketing operations, and why one of them is destroying your category right now. We'll talk about the enemy of what I call velocity gospel, and then a 3-step framework, as well as a AI prompt to help you through it, which you'll see towards the. So let's talk a little bit about this enemy that I've noticed. That is, if you can see this right here. Let me stretch this down just a smidgen. Okay, didn't work. And that is, the velocity gospel is a mindset. It is almost like a religion in marketing. This leads to the performance engine, and then finally to a signal graveyard. So what are these enemies? Well, first off, velocity gospel to me is a belief that more content equals more results. Volume is the strategy, and that's not really strategy. That's just an action. That's just activity, right? It's an engine that you can't, once you turn it on, can't quite turn it off. And I'm going to show you a few examples recently and also in the past from 2014 where this was flagged, especially prior to the AI culture that has erupted. The velocity gospel is a belief that more content equals more results, volume is strategy, and frequency is progress. So quiet is falling behind. Mark Schaefer named this in his article in 2014 called Content Shock, and the industry completely ignored it. Number 2, this mindset that more volume is the strategy leads to performance engine. What happens when a brand runs a velocity gospel through its content operation? CNET, you can see this actually in the newsletter breakdown, CNET use AI to publish 247 pages in 7 days. By 2025, potential buyers were walking away. Decades of trust destroyed by one production decision. And then the next example, this leads to what I call a signal graveyard. Between 2024 and 2026, the 10 largest tech publications lost 65 million combined monthly visits. So just because you have volume does not mean you have signal. A 58% decline from peak, and an entire category mistook activity for signal. This one belief, velocity gospel, has 3 consequences, and the campaigns that break through break the velocity gospel rules. You could see the rationalism here, which I'll talk about in a minute. The rationalism is more content is a good strategy, but that's not necessary. So what is this category for the strategy? Signal, my newsletter, it is all about signal architecture. Every brand and every market for that brand has begins with a rational narrative. It's the conscious story that either your brand tells or that the market is expecting of you. But what's funny is there's this weird little thing, and it's called human nature. Human nature likes to do what is not rational and prefers the signal. The signal is usually psychological. This is Roy Sutherland's insight in alchemy, which I thought I brought his book here, but I didn't. And somewhere in that signal, we find what's actually true, what's actually authentic, what is usually the opposite of what we expected. Then the third step of signal architecture is to take that as the keystone to build what we call architectural design, or architect's keystone, or signal architecture. We start building upon that really unusual, almost illogical idea. And so the world that I'm hoping to invite you into through this signal architecture is in 3 steps. The first step, notice the rational narrative. What is the conscious story every brand is telling about itself? What is the market saying right now about that? And what does it intend to communicate? I'm going to talk about 2 campaigns that proved it in just a second, but I want to give you another example. Take E.l.f. skincare. The rational narrative in skincare that Neutrogena jumped right on was that the sun is bad for your skin. And there is a moral consequence for you being exposed to the sun. You should avoid the sun, or if you're out there, you should wear skincare. Neutrogena took this rational narrative and they said, we're going to take what makes sense. That is, get the experts in. Bring in medical physicians, bring in certified dermatologists, bring in the clinical experts with their PhDs to lecture the customers in the market that what you're doing is wrong and we have the answer. That makes sense. That makes complete logical sense. But Gen Zers hate that kind of stuff. So what E.l.f. did was known as a Sun Hinged campaign. Rather than taking certified doctors, they took comedians. Comedians are not a regulated industry. They don't have PhDs, or maybe they do. It doesn't matter. If they make you laugh, no one gives a crap as long as you entertain them. And rather than having a PSA doctoral, clinician tell you should stay out of the sun and put on makeup, they had a 20-minute comedy show where they roasted the sun. How ridiculous is that? They didn't roast a celebrity. They didn't roast anybody that you or I know, except they roasted the sun, which can never fight back. And Gen Zers love this. They ate it all up because what they were doing, what E.l.f. was doing, they noticed a signal. They noticed something authentic. They noticed something about human nature. Entertain me first, then I like you. And when I like you, I'm open to what you can do for me, not the other way around. And they took that keystone of authenticity and they built upon it. And there you have right there is a signal architecture. They built a comedy show roasting the sun to just give value away and make people laugh. And this was also done with Blendtec. The CEO took whole iPhones, iPads, and he just threw them into a blender and he asked, can it blend? He even took gloves and threw them in, right? And this was just so funny and entertaining. And you know what? It taught something about the product too, that this product, this blender, can actually grind up the crap out of anything. And if it can do that, it can be durable enough for you to use. And you know what? I don't have any affiliation with Blendtec, but I can tell you the first thing my wife told me to buy when we got married was to invest in a Blendtec blender. And you know what? It has been almost 16 years and that thing is still running great. Just saying. So it's true, right? So again, there was a rational narrative that everyone bought into. There was a signal, and then there was a keystone by which they developed a brand. But you know what? It's not just E.l.f. It was true in WhatsApp. I call this the inoculation play. Musk told 170 million followers, don't trust WhatsApp. This is Elon Musk saying, don't trust WhatsApp, right? So they took that vulnerability. They noticed that people are saying, yes, people are afraid of their data being shared on WhatsApp. And they saw Keystone, and it was in 3 words, not even WhatsApp, right? They named the fear directly. Ad awareness climbed 11.5 5 percentage points in a single month. This is a large international campaign, the largest campaign in WhatsApp's history. Chili did the same thing. Rather than, this is called a category crasher. And this is even more bizarre, more funny, and more illogical. So you go and sit in at Chili's, right? You dine in at Chili's, right? Chili's is more high level. It's more expensive. You're going to have a meal. You're going to have a server wait on you, right? McDonald's is more low level. I just need a $10 value meal. I am running in and out. I don't even care about how good the quality of the food is, right? So what Chili's did was they said the rational narrative here is that Chili's should fight something else like Olive Garden, right? You both dine in these two places. That's its category. Dine-in restaurant experience. What they did instead was a category crashed down to McDonald's. They started attacking someone that was not their competitor in a separate category. And the thinking behind this was that people are experiencing, here's the signal, people are experiencing frustration that the $10 value menu or meal at McDonald's has now spiked and skyrocketed to $15, $16. So Chili's developed a ridiculous finance your fast food today using a predatory payday loan commercial, which you can see in the newsletter to this issue down in the link. And they also set up a temporary, for 2 days, a fake payday loan office next to Manhattan's McDonald's as a direct affront to the category below them. That's called category crashing. This is so illogical. This is not the rational narrative. You would not fight someone below you to win, but it worked. 31.6% same store sales growth the following quarter. Let's contrast this a little bit with what Pepsi did. Pepsi screwed it all up with the Jenner ad. They built a Keystone to deliver a rational narrative and never asked what signal their audience was actually carrying. This was during the 2017 riots with BLM. Here is Jenner coming in. She takes off a blonde wig. She's got this beautiful black hair, and she goes past the protesters and she hands a Pepsi over to the squad officers. And what do? They smile, they take it all in. Everything's good. You know, Pepsi will just make everything better and solve what Martin Luther King Jr. and other race relations advocates tried to do. But, you know, Pepsi, this Coca-Cola can, that's what's going to solve it. It's going to bring us all together. So WhatsApp and Chili's built on what was genuinely owned in their brand with their audience. Whereas with Pepsi, they were trying to perform authenticity. Pepsi performed having it, and the audience just totally felt the difference, and they pulled the ad within 24 hours. You can see the ad up there. It's just tone deaf. It doesn't seem like it connects with the audience. So what does this have to do with you? Is your brand running signal architecture, or is it running a performance engine? And so here's 4 questions you can ask yourself. Do you know what signal your audience is already carrying? What are the illogical, psychological things that they are in their minds, as Rory Sutherland would say, in their hearts, because that's what's really going to drive buyer behavior. Number 2, does your content look and feel different from your top competitors? And is it actually different, not just aspiring to be different? So that's also true about signal architecture. The signal has to be real, it has to be authentic. Number 3, if a new prospect encountered only your published content for 30 days, what would they believe about you that they wouldn't believe about anybody else? And number 4, what does your brand genuinely possess that your competitors cannot credibly claim? McDonald's and Chili's. This is a great example again. Or even E.l.f. Against Neutrogena. Neutrogena and E.l.f. were in the same category. But what E.l.f. could contrast and what could credibly claim was that they had a comedy show. They were willing to entertain Gen Zers, and they were willing to meet them where they were at, not where they were by moral obligation telling them to go. There's a red flag in here that you have to think about. If you can't answer question 4, which is, What does your brand genuinely possess that your competitors cannot credibly claim? If you can't answer it in one specific sentence, then your keystone is likely built on a rational narrative, not the actual signal that's emerging. Hey, if you want to run this diagnostic, it's called the Architect's Diagnostic. It's right here, also in the description down below and in the newsletter. This is a whole AI prompt. Takes you through 5 questions. It's an interview prompt. It'll tell you whether you have an enemy that you're auditing, what the signal architecture is, 5 conversation starters built from what is surfaced, just to get you started in signal architecture. I would love if you give it a try. How you can apply it to your brand. First off, you have to be able to name the rational narrative, identify the conventional story every brand in space tells. Number 2, you got to find the weird, something that's magical, illogical, doesn't make any sense. And the more that it does, oftentimes, as David Ogilvy said in his copywriting, the best copy usually starts as a joke. And so I'm not saying that every single ad has to be funny. That's what the entertainment Trojan horse displayed in the e.l.f. skincare sun hinged ad. But there should be something kind of absurd about it because human nature is absurd. Your buyers are absurd. And we do things for all the non-rational reasons. Number 3, you should identify a true possession, meaning that you should be able to own this thing that you're talking about. Be ruthlessly honest. Performing possession is what killed the Pepsi ad. And number 4, design the keystone, single campaign decision that deploys on the signal, not on the rational narrative. And number 5, the architect's diagnostic first. I just did that in the AI. Go ahead, give that a try. Inside every issue, the strategy signal, I do 1 week. Every week, I break down a successful campaign, usually within the last 2 months. Right now, I'm going through a series of 2025, and there will be an ebook on the 12 best strategies patterns that have emerged in the last 2 years, especially after the boom of AI. It will have a keystone, a single design decision that made it work. I don't go into the politics or into the finances. I just go into the verified metrics and I extract the large level strategy pattern that can work in more than one industry. Cross-industry proof. I think we looked at over 36 last year between those 12 campaigns of other industry, fintech, martech, AI, maritime. I mean, it was that one pattern can work across different industries. Assessment questions, client ready strategy deck. I really want you to be the smartest person in the room. That's my whole goal, is that after you had an issue with strategy signal, hey, I heard about this working over here with WhatsApp. Let's see if we can use our own vulnerability. And look, here's a client ready strategy deck ready by the next morning. So you aren't crunching on Sunday night trying to find a good campaign idea. Failure conditions, exactly why this backfired and where, and usually a GPT at the end of each newsletter where you can apply it on your own business or for client. Start with the foundation. Try reading the framework. Run your brand through the diagnostic before you read the library. I just believe that possession is about judgment. Strategy is about judgment, but possession can be the strategy and everything else is execution. And I let you do the execution. Feel free to chat below about where you are seeing signal architecture. And thanks for now, and catch you later.